Alright everyone, it's disgraceful gaslighting time. We gotta talk about the FBI. Link in the description. This is just to a clip, so it's not archived. This is Luke Rutkowski actually posting this. Fox News breaking through the other day. There had been a message put out by the FBI explaining their role in the Twitter files. Apparently, they decided that it was time to tell their side of the story, which shows that all of the bluster about it being a nothing burger, it's not actually a nothing burger. They wouldn't put out a presser at all to the legacy media unless they felt that there was a reason to do so, because they're taking attrition. It demoralizes people at the FBI, some of which are blameless admittedly, but at the same time, people are actually having a conversation. Hey, do we want taxpayer money to be used to try to coerce private businesses, private in name of course, into censoring lawful speech by taxpaying U.S. citizens? The general consensus is no. If you watch the legacy media's reporting generally, they'll try to tell you that the American public is really amped up for the great work of the men and women at the FBI and how wonderful it is because they were just suppressing Nazis and Russian disinfo. That's gaslighting too, but we'll get beyond that. By the way, an interesting take as well circulating right now about NPR. It's over on RCP. You can check it out if you want to. Pointing out, hey, the FBI was leaning on them to suppress the story. So now we know why NPR declared it to be a nothing burger, even though, again, they were well aware of the fact that the laptop did actually exist and was not part of a Russian disinfo campaign. Again, though, I digress. Let me ask you a rhetorical question. Some of you out there are parents. You have a 4-year-old kid. And, you tell them, you can have a cookie, and you go off to bed. Skedaddle, it's time for mama and dada to go to sleep, or whatever. Maybe you're just a guardian, whatever. Foster parent. And then, you get up a couple hours later, you figure you'll get a cookie before bedtime too, and you notice that the cookie jar is a little bit lighter. You notice that it appears that more than one cookie has been requisitioned from the cookie jar. So you confront your child and say, did you take 3 or 4 cookies? Because it looks like you took 3 or 4 cookies. What is that child, at least until they know better, likely to do? They will try to gaslight you. No, I didn't take the cookies. That was the cat. It was the invisible man or something like that. I'm not. You can't blame me for this. I swore that I didn't touch the cookie jar. What happened here is that the FBI got caught with its paws in the cookie jar. You didn't just speculate that they took 3 or 4 cookies. You caught them in the act. When you turned the kitchen light on because you wanted to go and get a midnight snack or something, they were up there on the table with both hands digging greedily into the goddamn cookies. And they're smeared with, chocolates dripping down their faces, crumbs everywhere. They didn't think to clean up the evidence. You know that they took the cookies. You caught them in the act of taking the cookies. You've got documentation. You've got surveillance footage of them playing around in the cookie jar. This is basically what happened with the FBI. The FBI lied flat out to the American people, partially for political reasons. It literally paid tech firms taxpayer money in order to suppress the fact that they were doing this. It paid the legacy media and coerced them as well. NPR is just one of them. If you think that CNN, MSNBC, and others weren't in on the joke, again, we'll eventually find corroboration of that. Maybe it'll be a little bit like the Gulf of Tonkin, and 40 years from now, when I'm old and gray and I look like a demented version of Saruman, we'll find out exactly how deep the rabbit hole went. We can already speculate. Of course, I've already said other tech firms were involved with this. They leaned on YouTube. They leaned on Meta. We know that. That's beyond speculation, too. It would be strange if Facebook and Twitter, as the least among them, were the only ones that were leaned on. No. The fact that YouTube began suppressing the same exact story at the same time is coincidental. The FBI didn't pay them millions of dollars. Hint, hint. Of course they did. It's just that they have better site security and didn't get taken over by Elon Musk, who actually managed to get a hold of the paperwork before the FBI-adjacent Trump-hating lawyer deleted everything. Which is why there are a few gaps in the record at this point, I'm sure. No, they got caught. So now they've put out their cover-up. Then watch it for yourself. It's only a minute long, so it's not difficult. The FBI putting out its presser and saying, well, this is just a normal part of our day-to-day operations to stop disinfo campaigns and propaganda. Shame on these people for putting out conspiracy theories about us doing anything wrong. This is peak. We investigated ourselves and found that we were blameless. Well, you're not blameless. Any random person reading through the Twitter threads that have been put out, looking at the internal paperwork itself, the internal messages between Twitter employees, the messages between the FBI and Twitter, would come to the conclusion that you did exactly what it's being claimed that you did. To gaslight and say it's a conspiracy theory, you're not even discounting the credibility of the internal memos now, are you? This is propaganda. Don't address the memos. They implicate you. The law is not on your side. The facts are not on your side. There's an old saying within law. If the law is against you, but the facts are with you, you argue the facts. If the facts are against you, but the law is with you, you argue the law. If neither the facts nor the law are for you, then you pound your fist and yell a lot. You raise an emotional appeal. This is an Amber Heard defense, I suppose. That's exactly what this is. They're not focusing on anything with... They don't mention the First Amendment or the concept of free expression in their gaslighting, covering ass statement here. They don't mention anything on the legalese side. They don't mention the memos themselves. They don't even try to say, well, yeah, a couple of rogue agents might have gone a little bit too far. They don't even try to apologize for it. They simply say that anyone who's questioning us is a conspiracy theorist. They got caught. They would not put out it's standard psyops. This is propaganda 101. You don't need a degree in the concept of a psychological warfare to know exactly why they're not even addressing their own internal memos between them and Twitter. It's because they got caught. And now they're trying to cover it up. How dare you, evil conspiracy theorists, and insinuating, of course, a Russian connection. How dare you question our bureau? We fail to stop every other terrorist that we've been monitoring in live time for years at a time, like the Boston Marathon bombers. Yeah, that one, we couldn't have possibly seen that one coming despite being warned by the Chechen authorities 2 years prior. And one of them was literally praising bin Laden publicly on his Facebook page, but we didn't think anything of it. We thought it was all just bluster. Apparently buying a bunch of pressure cookers and praising bin Laden and being radicalized and they know that you're radicalized by a terrorist cell over in Chechnya, that won't get you on a watch list. You know what will, according to the FBI, though? You decided that the Hunter Biden laptop was real because there was no countervailing evidence whatsoever to prove that it wasn't, and you looked at the legacy media and its denialism around the time of the 2020 election, and you put two and two together. You did a little bit of critical thinking. That's how you know that you're a conspiracy theorist. You're supposed to sit down, shut up, and just listen to whatever the FBI and the media tell you to do. But they were all in on it. They colluded along with big tech. And now we know that to be the fact. It's not speculative at this point. We've got the internal goddamn emails and Slack messages. We know that this is what happened. Twitter ignored its own TOS repeatedly. They worked hand in hand with a taxpayer-funded bureau that was apparently not interested in going after the illicit or terroristic material on site. They were more interested in a handful of small accounts that were amplifying things about Hunter Biden. Things that in the long run turned out to be true. When you're labeled a conspiracy theorist at this point, it's for a reason, and the reason ain't because you wear a tinfoil hat. That may have been the case 20 years ago. At this point, it's quite the opposite. It means that you're on target. You're getting flack because you're over the target. You're telling the truth. That's the case here too. It's disgraceful for the FBI, instead of coming out apologizing for breaching the First Amendment, wasting millions of taxpayer dollars going after U.S. citizens for doing absolutely nothing wrong, and instead of them disavowing any future action of that kind, which should be the case because it's literally outright illegal at this point, what we're seeing in the last couple of releases, they gaslight the public and say, we did nothing wrong. It's normal for us to do this. Okay, if this is normal, and it's legal, if there's nothing wrong with this kind of anti-disinfo campaign, disinfo as though that campaign itself may be, why don't you admit to the other campaigns that you've engaged in? Tell us about some other meanderings into coercing tech and the entire corporate media structure. Why don't you tell us about the politicians that helped coerce the FBI into the position? Why don't you throw them under the bus? After all, they did nothing wrong, right? We're just conspiracy theorists if we find anything problematic about what you did. Why don't you address the elephant in the room, which is the actual messages between your members and Twitter itself? But they won't do that because the messages completely abolish any concept that the FBI was blameless. And they prop up the so-called conspiracy theorists in all of their beliefs. There's a Slate article right now Ho, ho, ho. How to debate your conspiracy theorist relative about Hunter Biden this Christmas. You people are nuts. They're probably still taking money from the FBI right now. Some more ill-gotten gains, some silver pieces for Judas. That's about all. Peace out.